Imagine walking inside a courtroom. You haven't been convicted of anything. You're just waiting for a trial. But whether you walk out there that day or spend months in jail, all depends mostly on your color of your skin, not even what you did. Nearly 60% of the people incarcerated in America are people of color, despite making up of 14.4% of the population. That number is not an accident, it is not random, it is the result of systems built, reinforced, and justified over centuries. My name is Craig Threadgill, and I have spent considerable time researching this issue, examining historical records, legal scholarship, and data from institutions like Urban Institute. I wrote a paper on why systemic racism is one of the most challenging social issues in America, and today I'm going to walk you through how we got here, why it matters, and what we can do about it. In his work, David Kent, he's an historian, and he traced the racial hierarchy and how it was embedded into this country when it was founded. When Thomas Jefferson drafted the Declaration of Independence, it had a clause in there that condemned slavery, but that clause was later removed because Southern slaveholders and northern shipping northern shipping interests demanded it. The Constitution went further with the three-fifths clause, counting each enslaved person as only three-fifths of a person, effectively denying them of any rights and anything basically. The slave trade was protected by law for 20 years. Despite this, after the Civil War, there was hope. The 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendment abolished slavery, granted citizenship, and protected voting rights. Black communities began building schools, businesses, and civic institutions, but that hope was crushed. It was crushed. From 1877 to 1965, Jim Crow laws enforced segregation across the South. The Ku Klux Klan, often with the support of local officials, used lynching, arson, and terror to maintain white supremacy. The Supreme Court, the Supreme Court declared separate but equal constitutional, and Black Americans were locked out of opportunity for nearly a century. Okay, then the civil rights movement happened, and some laws were changed. Martin Luther King, some notable black activists, really pushed for our rights to be acknowledged finally. But in 2013, Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act, removing the requirement that states with histories and discrimination get federal approval before changing voting laws, which means almost immediately states enacted strict ID requirements, closing polling places, and purged voter right rolls. Measures that disproportionately affected Black and Latino voters. The methods changed, the outcomes did not. Systematically, people were being oppressed. People of color were being oppressed. People of color were stripped of their voices. Now let's talk about where this history comes up today, up most clearly, up the most clearly in the criminal legal justice system. I know a lot of you may have seen the cases going on with Rick Chow and the young boy Cyrus and Carmelo Anthony and his murder of Austin Metcalf. When we look at these trials, we can clearly see that these were from how do I put this? From beginning to end, these were unfair trials. Rick Chow chased a little boy, 13-year-old boy, 130 yards, and then shot him in the back. Carmelo Anthony was being bumped by six white kids, stabbed one, ran to tell a trusted adult. He's being charged with first-degree murder, facing 35 years in prison in Texas, which is a self-defense state. Now, when you look at these cases, you can clearly see, especially with Carmelo's, you can clearly see that this is a system designed against Black men, black women, black people. It's an all-white jury, and it was an all-white jury. They have clear evidence of what happened, clear witnesses telling them what happened, and the judge knows the family. Now to tie this back in to what we were talking about, how this is one of the biggest issues in America. Once arrested, people of color are more likely to be denied bail or given higher bail amounts. Once incarcerated, black people have more restricted facilities, disciplined more often, and held longer than white inmates. These are not individual failures. These are systemic patterns. This is something that has been built from all the way from 200 years ago that's still happening today. Some people argue that systemic racism is too vague, is too vague of a title to put on the actual issue at hand. When I believe that is a perfect description of what is going on. It's a system. It came from slavery all the way into what we see now and today. It's a system designed against people of color, and this is a issue. This is an issue for us to still be dealing with this. One of the biggest issues for us to still be dealing with this. Now, let me leave you with this. In 2020, a man named George Floyd was killed by a police officer who knelt on his neck for over 9 minutes. How many times has this happened before cameras? How many people younger than George Floyd? Understanding this history is essential, not to assign guilt, but to build something better. A meaningful solution requires reforming the systems that create these disparities, investing in communities, increasing accountability in policing and courts and inside of the justice system, and ensuring that laws protect everyone equally. We cannot solve this problem if we refuse to name it. Thank you. My name is Craig Threadgill, and cited in this speech was David Kent's A Brief History of Systemic Racism in America, Lily Robbins, Susan, and Nembart, and the racial and ethnic disparities throughout the criminal legal system for Urban Institute in 2021, and Peter Schuck, What Systemic Racism Systematically Downplays from National Affairs in 2022. Thank you very much.